1933. Adolf Hitler has taken power in Germany. He has got there by promising to be a man of peace. He has barely even mentioned the Jews. But now he can pursue his real agenda and rid Germany of his long-standing enemies.
The Jew was the enemy within, and the great Hitler, the great leader, was now pointing that out.
But not all Germans are behind him.
Many were upset by the ill treatment of Jews.
So he must find a way of capturing their minds to turn them to his way of thinking. This is the story of how Hitler and the Nazis bend an entire people to his will and groom them into participating in the most evil regime in history. A month after coming to power, a nervous Adolf Hitler takes to the airwaves. It is his first ever radio address to the German people. Germany is in the grip of the Great Depression. Faltering at first, he describes just how serious the situation is.
The misery of our people is horrible to behold. Millions are unemployed and starving.
Hitler explains that the task ahead is massive.
Germany is suffering from the most severe crisis in the standard of living it has experienced in the entire history of the country. There are hundreds of thousands of people homeless.
Some third of the workforce is unemployed, and the knock-on effects of that in terms of poor food, family conditions, work conditions, all suffer.
There is clearly a need to come up with some kind of big bang solution to unemployment.
Hitler had won power by promising to make the economy his priority.
The Nazi slogan was Brot und Arbeit, bread and work. Basic things that the Germans had grown accustomed not to having, they promised to restore.
The task with which we are faced is the hardest which has fallen to German statesmen within the memory of man.
He signs off by asking the people to give him 4 years to achieve his goals.
He said, look, we will do what we've promised, but we need time to do so. So please give us Geduld, be patient.
But what many German people don't realize is that economics is not what really concerns Hitler. He has long-standing ambitions, which he fails to mention in his speech. Ideological obsessions dating back to his experiences in World War I and the 1920s, expressed through his writings in Mein Kampf. First and foremost, he wants to rid Germany of the Jews.
He built the party on rabid anti-Semitism.
He sees them as a global, malevolent force with no sense of nationhood, who are to blame for Germany's crisis.
This great Jewish plot to take over the world, and we Germans are suffering from that. It's an international movement, but we in Germany, because of our grim conditions post-war, we are the victims. So our way forward is to get rid of the Jew.
Within weeks of taking power, rather than tackle unemployment, Hitler targets the Jews. A nationwide boycott of Jewish-owned shops and businesses sees brown shirts man the blockade. But it doesn't go well. The reaction of the majority of Germans is not as expected. They keep going to Jewish-owned shops. The German people simply aren't interested in Hitler's brand of anti-Semitism. A report from an American diplomat in Leipzig summarizes the effect of the boycott, describing it as
unpopular with the working classes and the educated circles of the middle classes.
The blockade is called off after just one day. The clear lesson for Hitler is that if he is to win over the Germans to his way of thinking, then he must first gain their confidence and do something about the economy. As a result, he won't mention the Jews again for 4 more years.
This isn't because he's gone soft on the Jewish question, but because he knows that politically there's more to be gained by a softer approach than by a harder line. He remains resolutely anti-Semitic, but publicly he's careful not to make that a major plank in his programme. It's for public consumption, essentially, the apparently softer line.
Along with his propaganda mastermind, Joseph Goebbels, Hitler devises a new plan to win the hearts and minds of his population. They unveil a nationwide battle for work, financed by a 1 billion Reichsmark economic revival program.